Hey everyone, welcome to another workout. Today is going to be different. We are going to do some release work. So it's something I don't talk about enough or don't do enough myself, but most of us who are quite active really need this. I'm going to apologize in advance. There's probably going to be a lot of banging and hammering in the background. The siding is just getting finished on my studio behind us, and there's really no other time to film this. So I apologize in advance if it disrupts the relaxing tone of doing some release work, but hopefully you can still hear my voice and still follow my cues and just block out that noise. So a lot of people really love the foam roller to do this kind of work. A lot of people love using a ball. I do most of my release work with a ball, and we're gonna kind of work our way up the body, and then I usually use the foam roller as sort of like a global way to flush out muscle. I find this gets more into trigger points along muscles, and this is more like a good way to flush things out. So that's sort of the approach we're gonna take today. And I'm gonna just systematically work from the feet all the way up to the head, doing some great release. You may find that you tend to stick to certain areas. So for me, a problem area is the back of my right shoulder and into my neck. So when that feels tight, I tend to go there. But then when I take the time to sort of do a whole body release, I realize there's a lot of other points of tension that are probably playing into all of this. So I'm not the best example of doing this on the regular, but do as I say, not as I do, and see how it feels, and try to keep note that not just the areas of pain are where release needs to happen. So I'm hoping the video quality is pretty dicey, that you cannot see how troll-like my feet look this time of year. It's actually quite embarrassing, but I think I'm far enough away. Hopefully you guys can't see that, and there's no hybrid camera here. Okay, so we're gonna start. I'm gonna use the yoga tune-up balls. I am not sponsored by them, but I am obsessed with them. They come in 3 sizes. I use them all the time. Send me a message if you want to know how to get one of these. You can even order them off Amazon. Otherwise, a lacrosse ball or even a tennis ball works quite well. Okay, so pick your poison, whatever you like. If you do have the yoga tune-up balls, I'm going to use primarily the smaller sizes, just so that they transfer well to using a tennis ball or lacrosse ball, if that's not what you have. Okay, so I definitely use this big guy quite a bit, but I'm not going to use it much today because I'm sure a majority of you don't have this ball, but I'll let you know when I would sub it in normally. Okay, so take your ball. You're going to come up into standing. You won't be able to see my face here, but that's okay. It's not important. And what you're going to do, I'm going to do this sideways. You're going to start with the ball right kind of on the knuckle of your toe. And then I want you to push down into the ball as you slide it back and shift right into the heel. And see what I do with the rest of my body is I'm just transferring weight as I do that. So it comes up to my knuckle. I'm going to shift my weight, get a little calf stretch there, stretch out the whole plantar fascia, the bottom of my foot. As I come through, I'm pushing down through that ball, and then I shift my weight forward as I get just in front of the bony part of the heel. Okay? And you just work back and forth like this. For most people, whether you have foot issues or not, this tends to be an area that loves a good release. And when I say love, it's kind of like a hurt so good. It's the best way I can describe it, of you feel those tender points, but it almost feels good to get on them, like you're doing something productive and happy. For the runners in the crowd, this is a great one to avoid kind of getting adhesions. Well, I shouldn't say avoid. I hate using the word avoid as if anything's kind of foolproof, but let's say being proactive about keeping the tissues nice and supple. Another just point about doing any release work, there's this notion out there that no pain, no gain. And you'll see people probably at the gym rolling out their IT band and their whole face is just gripped with tension. It's really not the point, or at least it isn't in my mind. You control the pressure. You should feel like you can carry on a conversation, that you're not sweating trying to do this, but that you're getting into a point that needs some work, okay? So you should be able to breathe through it. It shouldn't be excessively sore, and if it is, then you just back off a little bit, okay? You are in complete control. And hammering that tissue with tons of pressure is not overly productive. It's not productive at all in my mind, because you're trading one set of tension for another, right? If your whole body, if it's so painful that your whole body's being held in tension, you're really not giving it a fair chance to let the nervous system chill out, to let the fascia calm down. It's, if anything, just dialing things up more. So as I do this on my other foot, I'm doing it a little bit different here, and I'm stepping my other foot through as I walk through. This foot's definitely a little bit more tender and sore for me, and then might be an area that I focus on for the next few days. So a good way of kind of releasing through the whole body is to just gain that awareness of where you feel tight so that you can come back to it and work it out over the next few days, okay? So once you've kind of rolled those feet, that should already start to feel quite nice through the bottom of your feet. Come on down into sitting, and then you're gonna put the ball, if you feel like to the side, outside part of your knee and down a bit, you'll feel the head of your fibula. It's kind of like a bony area there. From that, a group of muscles comes down that goes sort of down your foot and underneath. They tend to be an area of restriction. You also have your common peroneal nerve in there, which gets a little angry. So this one I find a really good release, again, especially for the runners or cyclists in the group who really are using their leg muscles quite a bit. So you'll find you may have to like move around a little bit to find the spot that needs a little work. And then I don't sort of like roll on the ball. I'm not trying to like massage it. What I want to do is I'm trying to change up the pressure. So I get onto a pressure point or a tender point, and then I'm just moving my body to increase the pressure on that ball, and then I take it off a little bit. And then I increase that pressure. Again, I'm not getting to a point where I'm like, that kills. I'm just moving in and out of it. The other way you can do this is flex and point the foot, and you'll feel how the pressure changes as you move that muscle underneath the ball. Good. Just move back and forth, and you may find after you do a couple passes, you can move that ball to a new spot. You can give a little downward pressure with your hand if you need to really get into that muscle. But again, we're not forcing this insane amount of pressure. Okay, all of this, the mechanism, the whole idea behind doing release work is really just to increase blood flow at the end of the day. Like a very, very generalized goal here is we're increasing blood flow to tissue. We're not assuming that we're like breaking up all these nasty adhesions, although it may feel that way. We're essentially, at the end of the day, just trying to get an area flushed out, moving better, with better blood flow there, okay? And it should almost feel that way after you release it. Like there's a sensation of warmth, there's a sensation of almost like the area feels lighter, if that makes sense. It shouldn't feel like you're really, really sore and it's quite painful. So I'm just moving it down my leg as we go. I could sit here all day, it feels quite nice. And as I get a little bit lower, because the weight of my leg isn't as heavy, I'm pushing down more through my hand. Good, and then you would take this and obviously do it the other side. So I'm gonna do this side a little faster, just so we can get through our whole body. But you get the idea, and if this is an area, woo! So this sort of lines up. The same foot, under my foot that was quite tender, this muscle group in this leg is quite tender. So it's all kind of making sense. Things are a little bit more taxed on this side of my body. We'll see when we get up into the glutes if that still sticks, but this is what I mean. If I don't have pain or symptoms or complaints in my lower leg here, but I definitely do as I get higher up in my body. And, you know, don't underestimate the connections of all of this tissue throughout the body. I actually had a massage the other day, and again, my sort of complaint area is the back of my right shoulder, and I actually had her spend a lot of time releasing my abdomen, because as we know, we can get a lot of tension here, and it sort of pulls everything forward. So this isn't an area of pain, but I am wise to know that the associations downstream or upstream can make a big impact. So just some food for thought, and I keep going here, down the leg and flexing and pointing that foot as we go. I apologize if you're new to these workouts. Sorry, if you've been around the block for a while and joined me over on Facebook when I used to do the workouts over there, you'll see me wear this tank top. I'm obsessed with it, I love it, but I do realize on camera it does look like I'm nude. Not that I'm apologizing for it, but I just get a chuckle because it looks a lot different in the light of day. Okay, so keep working down through that muscle group, and then we're gonna switch things up. So you're gonna come onto hands and knees. If this position bothers your knees, then just put a pillow underneath them. You're gonna take the ball and you're gonna tuck it right into the crease of your knee. And I like to move it slightly towards the outside, okay? And then from here, what you're doing is just sitting back. Mine's a little too far to the outside, I was gonna pop out there. So I'm sitting back, and this is essentially getting into the top part of my calf, more so than the lower part of my hamstrings. And then you can play around with, if I shift my weight more to that leg, obviously the pressure is greater. If I shift away, the pressure is less, but I can kind of move further down into it. So this is definitely an area of tension for me. This is good. This feels good in a kind of icky way. And then you can play around with, you can move that ball a little south and get right into the meat of your calf. And you just have to like play around here. I'm going to show you from the front what my body's doing. So I'm sort of sitting down over to that side. I sit down back and straight. I move to the other side and just play around with how it feels different depending on where you are in that range. Try to be as relaxed to your upper body so you're not like gripping the ground. If anything, you can come right down. You're trying not to create a whole lot of tension in the rest of your body. It kind of negates the purpose of this, right? We're trying to down-regulate the nervous system, to chill everything out. We're not trying to create more tension. We're not trying to hammer and bludgeon our muscles. And I'm just gonna rock back and forth. I'm kind of on a nice spot there that's enjoying this pressure. You just rock back and forth and feel that sweet release. You can move down a little further. But after kind of midway through your calf, it turns into tendons. There's not like a whole lot of purpose of getting much lower than kind of halfway down your leg. Ooh, that's a nice one. And then obviously bring it over and work the other side. So I'm interested to kind of compare how each leg feels. And this one's not even close. So it's interesting, my left, what leg is that? My left leg has won all three locations for the most amount of tension or resistance. Although this one's climbing back quickly. So I love this one. I give this a lot to people with knee issues as long as they can get into this position now. I find a lot of people have a lot of tension through the posterior aspect of their knee, which helps. Also say if your knee does not move through that full range, this is when I would use a bigger ball. Okay, and you can see the difference here. I can still get into that calf, but I'm not having to sit as far back to do it, okay? Let's do another minute here and then we'll move on to the next squat. This may need to be like a two-parter. I feel like it's gonna take me so long to get through the body. Just feels so good. Okay, and then you're gonna come onto your rump and you're gonna put the ball, so you're gonna, almost like you're gonna go across your leg, and you're gonna put the ball, we're gonna break the IT band up sort of into thirds. So you're gonna put it more towards your knee and think of like along the seam of your pants almost, is where you're putting it. So I'm putting it down towards my knee. And again, I'm not like getting up and rolling on that ball. Instead, the ball sinks into the tissue, which is an important point. You kind of let your leg relax and sink into that. And then I'm gonna just shift my weight to come into that ball. And for these ones, I like to almost do like a circular motion. So I push into that ball and then I come up off of it. So the IT band I like to break up into thirds because normally people have a very dramatic response to one or two or all three. Usually it's like one spot in that IT band that really stands out. For most people, it's sort of the middle. So I'm in the distal or the lower third. Not much going on here. I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be the spot for me. So now I'm sort of midway between my hip and my knee. Same thing, I'm just going to move my body over top of that ball. This is the spot, my friends. And again, you can see here, I'm not like grimacing. I definitely feel it, but I'm in complete control. If I was to now put my whole weight on that, it would be way too much. Everything would sort of tense up in reaction to that, which is not really productive and helpful, in my opinion. Some people may disagree with that. Good. So I'm just working through that, and then I bring it up to the top third. And here you want to make sure it's not right on your hip, that there's still room to move into it. And this is pretty benign, not feeling all that much up here. So for me, definitely more mid-thigh, mid-IT band that I feel that. And that's where I would probably make a mental note and come back and try to work that out a bit after or later. And then obviously we do the same on the other side. So cross the leg, and then you're coming up and over, and you may just need to play around a little bit with that position and where you feel it most. I'm putting a little downward pressure on my knee. My knee tolerates that, and I just circle into it and around, and coming mid thigh, and same thing here. So I definitely feel it on this side, a little less than on the other, which adds up to everything we found before. Basically, my left leg is in crisis without it being symptomatic. And we're not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. Like, everyone has tension in places, so don't freak out if things feel really nasty. But it's all about this whole body awareness, right? It's what I talk about in every workout. It's being aware of sort of vulnerabilities in your body and doing your best to mitigate it. And then come up a little closer towards your hip. Make sure it's not right on the hip joint so you can still move into it. And give a little downward pressure on your knee if it tolerates it. And you're just sort of oscillating back and forth here. Whew. My legs already feel so much lighter. I can feel the blood moving, or at least I can visualize that happening. And now you're going to lie on your back and get into those glutes. So there's two ways you can do glutes. The first one I like to do is park the ball. So if you feel kind of the bony part of your hip, I like to park the ball right below that. So it's not into the meat of my glutes, it's sort of on the side of my hip. And when you lie here, you shouldn't feel all that much. But then what you're going to do is let your leg drop down into that ball, and you should feel the pressure increase as the leg comes down. So again, it's the idea of I'm using my leg as sort of the lever, and the ball's like the fulcrum. So I'm not like rolling around on the ball and trying to massage. I let my tissue sink into it, and then I use movement to help release. And I always think that movement is a superior way to achieve release because it's, again, all about increasing blood flow. Okay, and when you move muscles and you move joints, that innately already helps your cause. And then when we get the ball into there, we're just amplifying. Oh, this feels so nice. And then you can move it a little bit higher. You still want to be kind of in the fleshy part. You're not on your sacrum or any bony areas, but you definitely feel the difference. So as my leg comes down, this area is tight. I almost feel it resisted, like the muscle's kind of trying to push my leg back up. As best you can, just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let your leg relax as much as possible. And it can fight you for sure. Just keep doing a few reps and see if you can get everything to just chill. That your leg doesn't fight you, that muscle doesn't fight you. You may need to move a little to the side of that spot if it's really quite angry. And you move back and forth. Good. We're going to do the other way you can do the glute on this side. So this gets a little bit more into the flesh. You're sitting almost like if you're in a V stance, get your arms behind you, and then you can cross your leg over the other. So you're sort of in a figure four. Play around so you get the ball into the meat of that glute. And then what I like to do here is, again, sorry, I'm going to turn my hand, is I'm just tilting my pelvis. So I let my pelvis roll back, and then I tilt into an anterior tilt, and it pushes down on that ball. And then I relax by coming back, and then I tilt up. You can use your arms to help you, so let your elbows relax as you come back, and then extend your arms and let your pelvis sit up. It's gonna feel so good after. Again, keep it nice and light, right? Don't kill your glutes. Good. And then let's come on over to the other side. So same thing here. Put that ball behind your glutes. And then let the leg fall out to the side. Out and in. Out and in. Oh, so yummy. Out and in. Good. Good. Play around with your position a bit. You can move it up. Glutes are sort of big real estate, right? So it may take a few passes to get to all the points that need some love and attention. A couple more here. Good. And then come on up. Just move that ball again a little bit more to the meat of the muscle. And then same thing here, let yourself come back. And I have my knee, or my whole leg's kind of turned out a little bit. Okay, you can keep it straight, you can turn it out wherever you feel like you get into that muscle best. And then I'm just playing around with those pelvic tilts. Nice. And this, I mean, it just feels glorious. Again, even just the movement, without the ball even here, this is such a good movement for milking that pelvis. Milking is the best adjective I can think of, because it's really just trying to get things going and moving, lubricated and blood flowing. Everything is just working like a well-oiled machine after this. And then you can do some little circular motions here through the pelvis. You're moving through a couple of planes, and it is divine. Okay, so change of plan. I'm gonna continue with the upper body in the next video because I'm running out of time quickly. I'll get it up very soon though, so you're not waiting with bated breath. But what I would say, once you've done sort of the lower body, so you've done kind of from your pelvis downwards, this is where I would take the foam roller and just flush everything out. So you can start by sitting on it, and here I just like to bend the knees and straighten. And I'm just kind of rolling through my sit bones bilaterally. Both sides are working here. You can, some people like more control, they can put their hands on the foam roller and kind of control the foam roller here. Whatever works best for you. You can shift more into one side, more into the other. And then you can take that down to the hamstrings. Okay, so here I am trying to keep my upper body as relaxed as possible. And I know with your arms, you're having to hold your legs up. So just do the best you can. If you need to, you can sit down and then just pop up. I like doing both at the same time. And then here I like to flip over onto my front and roll out my quads. So important distinction here is I keep my feet pointed down towards the ground to start. And then I turn my legs, so turn your feet which should turn your whole leg outwards, and you'll get more the inside of your quads. And then you can turn your feet in, and it gets kind of more the outside, or at least slightly different spot. And I just play around with those boundaries. Now, again, your upper body should be as relaxed as possible, and you can play around with kind of how much pressure you're putting on. I like to use my arms to help me, but in a very relaxed way. This, again, should feel good, not like a ton of work. I do not like the IT band where we put all of our weight up. I like it to be more of a gentle release. So what I do is I do it on the bottom leg that's bent. Okay, and I'm just rolling over, again, mostly that middle segment, and I'm sending my hips back and then pushing them forward. For a lot of people, this is hard on their shoulder. Okay, so you can come up if this feels easier. You can straighten this leg as you want. I just find this a lot more awkward and hard to keep good contact with the ground. So I roll this side out a little bit. Then I come over and roll the other side out. So as much contact you can have with the floor, the better. So this leg's gotta get the right angle. So hips back. I'm just moving this hand out of the way so you can see better. And then this foot comes up to give me even more support. Okay? And I'm just sort of straightening here and bending. So this is one way to do it. Or you can stay here and you're just bending your hips forward and back. See the difference there? So it's almost like I'm doing a squat and then I come forward. Or you can do bent and then straighten through that leg. Whatever feels best for you. Give your shoulder a break as it needs it. Good. And then the lower legs, I do a little bit different. I get on the roller, and then I just like to do little mini kicks. So I find I cannot generate enough pressure by pushing down through the roller. So this just feels like a nice way to gently work tension out of those calves. And feels actually quite good. Done it. Okay, so I'm gonna end things there. I will continue with the back, torso, shoulders, neck in another video. I was not anticipating we would spend this much time on the lower body, so stay tuned for that. But I hope you find this helpful and everything's feeling a lot looser, supple. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.